Welcome to week 8 of our pantry challenge for the hashtag 3 Rivers Pantry Challenge for January, February. And this week we are doing all of our meals off the shelf staple foods that we have on hand. But before we get started, we would really appreciate if you hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you're new to our channel, I'm Julia, Aaron's behind the camera, and we are the Canny Couple. And let's just go ahead and get started with what we're having. So a viewer reached out and asked if we, or gave us the idea of doing a shelf staple pantry week of food. Thought it was a great idea. We took it, ran with it, looked at what we had in our pantry, what foods we had grown that we grew specifically to be shelf stable, and decided to run with it. So for breakfast, we're doing an oatmeal cake, an oatmeal bundt cake. For lunch, we're doing a minestrone soup, and it was kind of minestrone. It'll be a little Italian, a little not Italian. It's a bunch of different, it's soup. And then for dinner, we're doing a chicken fried rice, minus the eggs, but we'll go over that in a minute. So let's jump into the soup, because it's right here, and we have it ready to go. So as you see, I already have the pasta cooked to go in my soup. It's kind of stuck together, and that is okay. So whenever it's ready, I can add it in. And what it is, it's going to be a tomato-based soup. So I have 2.5 quarts of tomatoes in here, and I also have about 4 cups of potatoes. These potatoes we grew in our garden, shelf stable. We love having potatoes. This is a can of carrots, or 2 cans of carrots, sorry.
I was ready to say, wow, that's 1 can?
No, 2 cans of carrots, a 1/2 cup of lentils, and then about 3/4 of a cup of freeze-dried vegetables that we have freeze-dried and had in our pantry. And these vegetables are carrots, peas, corn, and green beans. And I will tell you, like you can see here, the freeze-dried carrots, they taste good, but they lost their color. And we like having a lot of carrots in soup, so we will actually not be freeze drying carrots like this again, since they did lose their color. But thought this would be a good way to use some of these up. We're just going to mix them in. And then the other thing we're going to add is a can of kidney beans, because we want to up our protein here. I added 1/2 of a cup of lentils because of Aaron. He likes lentils, but they're not his absolute favorite. So I thought the lentils and the kidney beans would be a good option here. And I only did 1/2 box of pasta. So that is a pound of pasta, so it's a 1/2 pound of pasta that we did. You know what I forgot? I forgot my seasoning. So give me just a second. I'll be back. I need to go grab the seasoning for this. So I grabbed some basil and I grabbed some oregano. I thought these would be the best options for this meal, since we're wanting it kind of to be Italian and, kind of like a minestrone soup, but not really a minestrone soup. I'm going to put in a good batch of basil here. And then we're going to put in our oregano. It's going to be good. And I'm probably doing 2 to 3 tablespoons. We don't go light on spices. If you prefer lighter spices, definitely take that into consideration, what your taste preferences are. Smells good. That basil smells so good. Basil's one of our favorite spices, especially for Italian. We've been trying to grow it for years, and some years we have success, but I can't get to it. Other years we don't. I did have freeze-dried zucchini, squash, but I feel like I have enough in here. I don't really need it. It looks like an awful full pot.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to set that to the side, because once I add the pasta, I'm putting in 2 cups of water. And I did not pre-soak the freeze-dried vegetables for this, because I knew it was a soup and it would soak in some of that extra liquid. We're just going to cover it and let it sit. Once it's done, we'll add the pre-cooked pasta, mix it in. It'll be wonderful. We're going to put it on medium. Just let it simmer. Now we're going to move to our dinner side. So I've heated up some crystallized honey here. Ooh, it's a little hot. I put it in some warm water and just let it sit. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pour some of this honey on the squash. This has been one of Aaron's favorite way to eat this winter squash, and it goes really good with Asian. So we're just going to pour. I'm probably going to do about 2 cups, but I don't want to do much more than that. We just want enough to flavor it. There we go. Try not to make a mess. It's kind of toasty. I'll need to leave that out. Okay, there is our side dish. We'll get that in the oven when we put our cake in the oven. So we're doing an oatmeal cake. I've made up this recipe on the fly. So I have it here, and okay, so we have it here, and I just made it up, and I will write it on one of my nicer cards if it works. Let's see. So I have my oatmeal that I pre-soaked. It's soaked for like 12 hours. And I have my peaches. It's probably about 2 cups of peaches. They're canned peaches that we already had. And then in here I have a cup of flaxseed, a cup of brown sugar. I did not pack it because I didn't need that much sugar where I have sugar in my peach water, and we're going to use that. I have 2 cups of flour, 2 tablespoons of baking soda or baking powder, and a teaspoon of baking powder, some salt, and I did probably a tablespoon of nutmeg. Oh, and I also have egg powder. So instead of using eggs in our meals this week, we keep egg powder on hand. I always have a little bit, keep it there, so if I need it, I have access to eggs that are shelf stable for baking and things like that. This is just over 2 cups. It should take care of everything in here for our liquid. Had a little peach in there too. I'm also going to add a splash of vanilla. I don't understand why a lot of baking dishes don't call for vanilla. I think vanilla always adds another layer.
I think it's because the price, how expensive it is to buy it, you know.
It could be. I'll tell you, Erin found the hack for vanilla on how to do your own vanilla, minus the cost of the alcohol, but how you can get the beans relatively, well, I guess at a good cost.
At a good cost. It's like a co-op that goes in together to buy big bunches of it.
So we can get a couple of ounces for like 30, 40 bucks, which isn't bad compared to what a lot of people pay for like an ounce. This is going to be so good. I've made this recipe once before. I made it with blueberries. It's been a long time, and I thought this would be good. This is kind of like a take on a baked oatmeal, but you're using flour in it. Tell it's going to be really good with the peaches. I'm hoping I can get Isabel to eat it. You can add nuts to this if you like it. You can add walnuts, almonds, cashews, whatever you like to eat. Got a big chunk of powdered sugar, or not powdered sugar, brown sugar in there. We just whisk it up. And I feel like pre-soaking the oats is what's really going to help make this taste really, really good. Because they're not the quick oats. These are the old-fashioned, the ones we get from Azure Standard. So they do take a little bit longer to cook. And I really think that soaking them does help quite a bit on that cook time. It makes them creamier. So this should be a really good cake for breakfast. You can add powdered sugar to the top. I probably won't because I like to limit the amount of sugar we have in the morning unless we need it. Sometimes, you just have to have that little bit of extra sugar, but we'll see. Here is my pre-greased bundt pan. I greased it pretty heavy, just trying to make sure it doesn't stick. Fingers crossed. The bundt pan is not my 100% favorite thing to cook with because of its tendency to stick. Erin and I made a Krispy Kreme cake when they first came out. God, this was when we were first together. Erin thought it sounded so good. Oh, it stuck bad.
Yeah, I do remember that now. I've completely forgotten about that one.
That was so bad. I tend to just use glass baking dishes because they're just easier, but this one is a beautiful cake. I remember this one really well. I always try to throw blueberry or some sort of a fruit-filled cake for Aaron because he loves it so much. And Isabel, depending on her mood, will try it. Depending on her mood. Okay, and like I said, this was just canned peaches. You can use frozen peaches, fresh peaches. It doesn't really matter what your personal preference is. And we'll get the oven on 350, bake it till it comes through. I'm hesitant to tell you all bake times because I think everybody's oven cooks a little different. They really do. You might take me 30 minutes. It might take you 45. If you're using gas, I use electric. So I'm always hesitant to tell you. I always look for doneness. So just go with doneness. Start with 30 to 45 minutes. Check for doneness and then add on time as needed or take time off as needed. Okay. Now we're going to go to our dinner here in just a second. So I have a skillet, and what we'll do is I'll do a batch of this on camera so you all can see. But what we'll do, and then I'll just come and do it all in bulk. Where did my oil go? There it is. Working kitchen, people. All right. So I have a skillet. This is one of my enameled, and it is clean. That's just how enamel does. This is new. I used the old one. We're just going to, I'm actually going to use a little bit more oil than I normally would because we're frying rice and I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to get that warm. I've got it on 6, probably 5.5. And here I have some chicken and some vegetables that I soaked. These were freeze-dried vegetables.
And the chicken
Canned chicken.
Canned chicken.
Canned chicken. So nothing fancy. And I did 3 cans, and that's probably 2 cups of vegetables. And then I have rice that was from our pantry that I cooked yesterday to put in here. And I want to mix it up in the bowl instead of in the skillet so it will be easier for me to fry up. And I'm going to add some butter powder to this because I feel like I would prefer to fry this in butter. I really would, but it would take a lot of butter to fry this, and butter is not shelf stable unless you're using ghee, and I don't have any ghee on hand right now. It's in the plans to make some, but we've got a little bit to go before we're there. But I do have some butter powder, and I like having this on hand. It's Anthony's premium butter powder. This stuff is great. I've used it a couple of times. Aaron's like, I don't remember getting this.
I do remember getting that one actually.
But I like having it on hand, especially for things like this. So I'm going to put 2 spoonfuls just to give it that buttery flavor and mix it in so everything kind of has that nice, yummy buttery flavor. It's always good to have a small amount of this kind of stuff in your pantry just for times like this where you're not using your freezer or your refrigerator.
Or when you run out, you don't have to go to the store to grab it.
Right? Or if you can't find it. We've been
too.
running into that more than anything. Butter's gotten crazy here. My sale price for butter is $3.50. And that seems really high, but that is my sale price for butter, real butter. And we have been shifting more towards that versus margarine. We used to use margarine a lot, but we've shifted more towards butter, and I've been using it more with these pans. Giving them a good stir, get it all good and incorporated so it's easier to mix as we go through. We love rice. Rice is a staple in our house. I've always liked rice. I don't think Aaron ate it as much.
No.
And then he met me and he's like, I have to eat rice all the time. And then the baby loves rice. She would rather have rice, I think, than anything else. And I feel like that's good. Trying to avoid making messes. And now we're going to come back over here. Okay, so now we're back at our stove, and my skillet's pretty hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding this in, and I'm just going to add in enough to just fry it lightly on each side. Now, most of the time you would have fried rice with an egg. We're doing a shelf-stable pantry challenge. I'm not adding an egg. And I don't know if my little one would eat it with egg in it. I was a little worried because if she tastes one thing that she doesn't like in it, we're done. There's no
going back. It's like
there's no going back.
It's like don't want it ever again.
Ever again. So I want to make sure that before we do that, I have a little bit more control. So we're leaving the egg out, but it'll still be good. My mom used to make this when I was growing up, kind of similar. I don't ever remember her putting an egg in there. This is soy sauce.
I was gonna say.
And we're just going to fry it up so it's crispy on both sides. And we're going to rinse and repeat and do this till this entire bowl is done. I'll let you all see what it looks like. And then we'll put together our meal prep for the week. We'll have that on the side for dinner. It'll be a really good dinner. What I'm worried about is making sure this doesn't stick. And I don't have a big one. These are 8-inch skillets. I don't have a really big one yet. That's on our list, but these enamel skillets are a little pricey. So we've been kind of holding off on getting a big enameled skillet, like a 17 or 12-inch one. We're just going to give it a second to fry up. We'll be back and I'll show you what it looks like in just a second. Okay, so I'm on my second batch of the fried rice, and as you can see, it's not getting as crispy as I wanted to, and that's because I used too much soy sauce. So for my next few batches, I'm going to use quite a bit less soy sauce so it gets that crispy texture, and I will mix this in. And we're just going to keep working through this huge pot of chicken and rice and vegetables and work through it, and then we'll come back and we'll show you everything when it's all done and put together.
Okay, let's start off here with dinner.
It looks good.
Looks very good.
You taste the butter.
You can.
I don't think it'd be as good without it. That butter powder.
No. That's good.
It's a different squash.
Those are very, very sweeter.
It's that Amish pie, I want to say.
That's very good.
I was a little worried.
Okay, here's the soup. That's really good.
Is it? Are you going to eat it all?
Well, not right now. Not on camera.
And it did pop right out. Popped right out. I'm so happy.
That's good.
Is it? So keep this recipe? Is it better than the baked oatmeal?
Yes.
It is? But you like the baked oatmeal?
I do, but that's a lot better.
Is it?
That's going to go great with coffee in the mornings.
Is it? That's what you're leaning this towards? Does it need more sugar? Does it need powdered sugar on top?
No. I mean, if somebody wanted to put something on it, it'd give it a little bit more sweetness, but it doesn't need it.
The peach flavor good?
Definitely, definitely. Something I really enjoy. Okay, well, any comments, questions, anything you want to hear, that, we didn't talk about specifically, leave those questions down below. or send them to thecannycouple@yahoo.com. Make sure to go over and check out the link tree with all of the other content. And
as always, thank you for joining us on the Canny Couple, where we work hard, live simple, and enjoy life. Have a wonderful day.